Do you want to be healthier, yet you just don't know what to do? All these shows telling you this and that, but nothing seems to work. Well, listen close. Golden State Media Concepts has got something great for you. The Health and Wellness Podcast dedicated to workout trends, healthy eating habits, diet, and everything about healthy living. Join us in our banters as we help you not just live life to the fullest, but live it to the healthiest.
Friday the 13th. All day, as my mom and dad like to, mom and dad jokingly say, when you say, is today Wednesday? All day, they say. Well, today's Friday, but it's Friday the 13th. And for some people, that's a really cool day. They like, it's kind of on par with Halloween. They like the spooky element of it. They like the darker element of it. And for some people, they don't like it because they feel like it's a very unlucky day. And of course, there's all kinds of superstitions around the day. There's all kinds of superstitions in the world, I mean, Friday the 13th is just seen as unlucky. If something bad's going to happen, it's going to happen on Friday the 13th. Many people believe, but there are other superstitions that we are aware of, maybe even believe in, things like black cats being bad, which is actually, as I was just saying on the book review podcast, why a lot of black animals do not get adopted. Black dogs and black cats tend to not get adopted because they're seen as unlucky at best and evil at worst, but it's just their fur color, and I have friends who have beautiful black animals that are just the sweetest things, and they love them dearly like any other animal. So black cats can be a superstition. Walking under a ladder can be a superstition. Breaking a mirror is supposed to bring you 7 years bad luck. What's that phrase that used to say as a kid? Step on a crack, break your mama's back. That's just terrible. So, you had to step over all the cracks in the sidewalk. I don't know where that one came from. I should do some etymology on that just to find out where that phrase came from. Was there a reason you weren't supposed to be stepping on a crack? I mean, sometimes these things have their origins in stories or in reasons that were logical at the time or taught a specific lesson at the time, but that make no sense to us now. So anyway, lots and lots of superstitions out there. And since it is Friday the 13th, a day of superstitions, I thought maybe we would talk about some superstitions in the world of health, because there are, of course, a lot of them. And again, we've talked a lot on the show about blending Western and Eastern medicine, about encompassing the whole person physically, mentally, spiritually, and making sure that you're addressing all of your health needs. So some of those things, especially Eastern medicine kinds of practices or spiritual kinds of practices, have been seen as superstitious in the past, but then have been proven to actually have health benefits. And then there are others that were seen as perfectly sound advice that have been proven to be not so true. So what are some of those? Well, the first one, and this list appropriately comes with 13 of these, and the first one is that cold weather and wet hair and sickness. I don't know if you grew up someplace cold. I grew up in Montana, and it was always, wrap up really well. And of course, you need to wrap up really well when it's 20 below. Of course you do. You don't want to be getting frostbite. But there is, there's a theory that getting cold will cause you to catch a cold. This is a huge plot theme in most of Jane Austen's books, right? If you read Jane Austen, somebody's always going out in the rain and getting wet and then getting sick, deathly ill because she caught cold in the rain. But Getting cold or staying warm will not prevent you from getting a cold. Neither will staying indoors in cold weather, despite what you may have been told as a child, despite what your parents were told as children. Another folk belief is that going out with wet hair will cause you to be sick. It'll definitely cause you to be colder. I mean, you lose a lot of body heat out of your head, so you should definitely be wearing a hat when it's cold. But the worst thing is, if you go out with wet hair in the winter, your hair can freeze and then it'll just snap off. Don't do it. But another folk belief is that sleeping with wet hair could make you go blind. I had no idea. That one I hadn't heard. I sleep with wet hair all the time. Maybe that's why my eyesight is so bad. Probably not. But sleeping with wet hair will not make you sick, and I don't think there are any proven cases of people going blind because of wet hair. You could wake up with some really interesting bedhead, but I don't think it'll cause you to go blind. Another belief is evil spirits cause disease, and this one's been around for a very long time. I mean, it was around in the Bible. People didn't understand medical issues and concerns like we do today, and so when they didn't understand something, they believed that it was a demon making someone sick. And so when Jesus heals, he's often exorcising demons, and then the person is well once that spirit is released. And this belief has been prevalent much longer than you might think. And actually, some people still believe in it, We all talk about our demons, and those can be mental health demons, but a lot of people don't believe in actual physical demons causing illness. But this says that long before the era of pharmaceuticals and brain scans, people were scared after seeing or experiencing seizures, and this was a big one. Evil spirits were often blamed for epilepsy and other serious conditions. These views still exist. Occasionally, parents of hospitalized kids want to try culturally based practices in addition to standard treatments, says Dr. Michael Pitt, an associate professor of pediatrics at the University of Minnesota. And, probably that would make them feel better and more comfortable and more comforted as long as they're trying the standard treatments in addition to the other practices, and as long as those practices aren't dangerous in themselves. But Dr. Michael Pitt recently says that two parents whose child had seizures asked if a shaman could light a candle in the hospital room. After ensuring fire safety, Pitt gave the parents the go-ahead. He said, "The posture I took with the medical team was, prove to me they're wrong. Sure, I know what causes seizures. Is it worth debating with this family about the right or wrong versus actually finding a way to accommodate this belief?" Absolutely. I think that is a very logical way to do. Cupping and coining. Now, this is interesting. There's a lot of my husband watches MMA, and you see fighters with these crazy big bruises on their back, and it's from this procedure called cupping. And that is putting small heated cups on the skin to create suction. It's an ancient practice, and it's found across many different cultures. It's meant to draw out and release toxic elements while boosting blood flow and creating healing energy. Cupping is endorsed by some celebrities and pro athletes. Coining is a similar technique that's used in China, Indonesia, and other Southeast Asian countries, which involves rubbing a coin along the skin to create a bruise and bring bad blood to the surface. Circular bruises from cupping or linear coining bruises have raised red flags as possible signs of abuse among health providers who weren't aware of these practices. Now, however, cupping is better known in the U.S., with Olympic athletes like Michael Phelps making it trendy. Learning about culture, humility, and working across cultures is important for healthcare providers. Dr. Pitt says, the same doctor from earlier. A lot of the time, we are just uncomfortable with something because it's not part of our culture, and therefore we think of it as voodoo or superstition, when the reality is we have things that are very weird too. Yes, so I'm not sure that there's definitive research on cupping or coining, but anecdotally, people really feel like it helps them and helps them to perform better as athletes. So again, as long as it's not dangerous or causing harm, then there's probably not too much wrong with that type of belief, and you don't want to call it then a superstition necessarily in that case, but just a belief that is maybe not fully backed up yet by science. So we are going to take our first break of the podcast. When we come back, more superstitions or beliefs that may or may not have proven true or useful. So stay tuned. You're listening to the GSMC Health and Wellness Podcast, and I'll be right back.
Still on the search of that one true love? On the limbo in this crazy world of dating, marriage, relationships? Well, listen to the Golden State Media Concepts Relationship Podcast, your one-stop podcast for everything about relationships. That maybe have proven more or less accurate or helpful in terms of your health. This one is cleaning wounds in seawater. Okay, using ocean salt water to clean cuts and heal wounds isn't helpful, this says. Beach water may contain bacteria or other germs that can infect an open wound, says Isabel Valdez, a physician's assistant and instructor of family medicine at Baylor College of Medicine in Houston. Polluted river or ocean water can expose you to contaminants ranging from pharmaceutical waste to oil slicks. Ugh. Recalling the disastrous 2010 BP rig oil spill, Valdez says you cannot trust the water at the Gulf. Instead, she says it's safer to wash wounds with warm, soapy water from your sink. And probably when you think about this, you think, well, saline, doctors often use saline to rinse wounds or clean. It's used a lot in medical practice. You use saline if you have contacts, and that's basically salt water, right? So why wouldn't ocean water be effective? Well, it's great if it's clean, but how are you going to know? And exposing an open wound, just allowing who knows what into that open wound and into your bloodstream, probably not the best idea. Okay, this one is definitely popular. It even made it on to an episode of Friends, and that is peeing on yourself will help jellyfish stings. This also says meat tenderizer for jellyfish stings. Painful jellyfish stings pose another beach hazard. Many people try meat tenderizer as a remedy, but there's little evidence to support it. In a 2013 evidence review of jellyfish sting treatments, hot water immersion was found to provide the best pain relief. Ice packs and hot water were equally effective for treating skin redness and swelling. Meat tenderizer and vinegar made skin appear worse. The Mayo Clinic recommends vinegar for rinsing the skin, then removing jellyfish tentacles with tweezers and soaking the skin in hot water or taking a long hot shower. Not recommended is rinsing the skin with urine or seawater or applying meat tenderizers. So it's going to hurt. It's going to be awful. You don't need to pee on yourself. There you go. There's the good news. The bad news is it's still going to hurt like crazy. This one's a good one. Skipping sunblock on cloudy days. I don't know that this is necessarily a superstition, but a lot of people think it's cloudy. I don't need the sunblock, right? Well, yeah. It's not so much because, of course, ultraviolet rays can actually come through the clouds and cause skin damage. On overcast days, people have the mistaken impression that they can't get sunburned. Living in a sunny area, Valdez says patients frequently repeat the myth, because it's cloudy out, I don't have to use sunblock. That's not really the case. You're still getting exposed to the rays of the sun, she says. Whether it's sunny or cloudy outdoors, she emphasizes it's important to wear sunblock and remember to reapply sunblock. So, obviously, if it's
really, really cloudy and just dumping rain, you're probably not going to be outside very much. So yeah, you're not going to get sunburned. But if it's just an overcast day and you're spending time outside, you can still get those harmful rays. So take care of your skin and make sure that you are not getting sunburned, because the last thing you want to do is come in from a cloudy day and find that you've been sunburned. Hospital jinxes is the next one. Doctors and nurses have their own superstitions, and actually I can speak to this from experience. I worked as a chaplain in a children's hospital one summer as part of my graduate studies, and whenever we were on call as chaplains, somebody was always on call overnight, and you weren't supposed to say, "Oh, it's quiet." Because as soon as you said the Q word, then something would happen. This was the superstition that I encountered in the hospital that I worked at. And, sometimes it proved to be true, but not always. And actually, that's exactly what this tip is saying. So I can speak to one of these from personal experience that, don't utter the Q word. The moment someone says it's been a quiet shift, many believe the ER will immediately be packed with patients. There's also what Dr. Pitt calls the Beetlejuice phenomenon. Staff members are reluctant to speak the names of patients who continually show up at the hospital, he says. Like if you say it 3 times, they'll appear in the waiting room. Those kinds of things I understand, because it seems like there is a correlation sometimes. You speak a patient's name and they appear. You say the Q word and suddenly you just get slammed with emergencies, whatever. So yeah, anecdotally it can seem like there's definitely a connection, but not always the case. And of course, don't even get medical personnel talking about a full moon. Nights like that are just crazy. And that's what this next one is, full moon mischief. Teachers will tell you the same thing. For centuries, full moons have been credited with or blamed for wide-ranging health effects. And today is Friday the 13th and a full moon. So if there's any day to be superstitious, today would definitely be one of those, right? Back to the full moon mischief, though births were believed to rise as the moon increased its gravitational pull, causing pregnant women's water to break. The full moon was thought to stimulate insanity and lead to behaviors like sleepwalking. Although studies disprove lunar health connections, many people still believe. And that's true. I mean, how many memes have you seen on Facebook today about it being both Friday the 13th and a full moon? And even when it's not Friday the 13th, you're still going to see those full moon memes. And most of the teachers that I know swear that the full moon makes their students squirrelier. And my best friend who's a social worker says the same thing about the hospital that she works at. It's a full moon, the craziness is going to come out. So yeah, some things feel true, right? Healing crystals and essential oils. Well, we've talked about essential oils on this podcast, and do they help? Do they not help? Is it psychological? What's the deal? Crystals, of course, are pretty, but can they actually do anything to improve your health? Placing healing crystals near or on your body is believed to bring physical, spiritual, and emotional health benefits. Black obsidian helps you feel more grounded. Carnelian regulates menstrual cycles, and rose quartz releases stress and promotes emotional balance, according to the lifestyle website Goop. Similarly, aromatherapy with essential oils such as lavender and chamomile is sometimes used to enhance well-being or as a form of complementary medicine for cancer patients coping with pain or chemotherapy side effects. Although study results on aromatherapy are mixed, positive effects like nausea improvement have been seen. So, don't knock the power of a placebo or a patient's belief in treatment. And some people do find lavender and chamomile soothing, and if you're soothed and relaxed, then that's going to help your pain levels and those types of things. Maybe not as well as a pain pill, but everything kind of works together. So Dr. Pitt says if proven to work, he adds, today's alternative or complementary medicine becomes tomorrow's mainstream medicine. And that is absolutely true, right? I mean, how many things have we believed were just absolute rubbish, and then suddenly there were more studies and there were more cases the difference between science and magic sometimes is that science has been proven to actually do what the magic says it will do, and prove the why, not just believing, poof, something's going to happen. Let's go ahead and take our second and final break of the podcast, and when we come back, we'll be wrapping up this episode on superstitions and possibly erroneous health beliefs, or possibly not. Stay tuned. You're listening to the GSMC Health and Wellness Podcast, and I'll be right back.
Tired of searching the vast jungle of podcasts? Now listen close and hear this out. There's a podcast network that covers just about everything that you've been searching. Hey! The Golden State Media Concepts Podcast Network is here. Nothing less than a podcast bliss with endless hours of podcast coverage. From news, sports, music, fashion, cooking, entertainment, fantasy, football, and so much more. So stop lurking around and go straight out to the Golden State Media Concepts Podcast Network. Guaranteed to fill that podcast itch. Whatever it may be, visit us at www.gsmcpodcast.com. Follow us on Facebook and Twitter, and download us on iTunes, SoundCloud, and Google Play.
Superstitions. And this next one is herbal medicines and nutritional supplements. So again, I think this is on par with the one that we ended the last segment with, healing crystals and essential oils. Maybe there hasn't been a lot of conclusive evidence, but anecdotal evidence is definitely there. And again, if it's not harmful, then the psychological aspects can be really helpful in terms of health. So herbal medicines and folk remedies, of course, have been around forever, but their safety and efficacy are still up for debate. Dietary supplements straddle the line between science and superstition. Although certain supplements can help some people with nutritional deficits, like low levels of vitamin D, most people should be able to get all the nutrients they need through a healthy, balanced diet. One myth is that herbals and botanicals come from the earth and are therefore safe. Wow, that's not true. People think that natural means harmless. Dr. Pitt says there are a fair amount of natural medication, St. John's wort is a classic example, that interact with other medications. And as Valdez warns, you really don't know what additives or active ingredients you're getting from unregulated products sold online. So as we've said before, supplements and herbal supplements are usually not regulated by the FDA. So they always have that little cross at the end, after they make their claims. This has not been verified by the FDA, so you definitely have to be careful. You want to read ingredients and make sure you understand what actually is in the supplement. Is it just the herb that they are touting, or are there other ingredients? Are there active ingredients? Could those ingredients interact? That's why when you go to your doctor and they ask for your list of medicines, they will often also ask for any supplements that you're taking. Next one, lemon water superpowers. Adding lemon to your water makes it tasty if you like the flavor, which I do not. I just like my water flavored. No lemon for me, thank you. But I know a lot of people like it, so I am not here to judge. But this says don't drown yourself in lemon water. According to celebrity hype and research hints, lemon water can prevent dehydration, moisturize skin, improve digestion, and promote weight loss. Dr. She's the physician's assistant. What would her title be? I don't know. Is that doctor? I don't know the answer to that. But Isabel Valdez, who's been quoted recently or throughout this episode, says, if I start the day with lemon water, it will rev up my metabolism, is what many patients tell her. My concern would be if you were to drink too much lemon water to the point where the concentration is too acidic, If you have a propensity for gastritis or you had a stomach ulcer, taking in too much will actually irritate your stomach more. So when it comes to rehydrating on a hot day, she says plain water is your best bet. And of course, as we've said before, the worst fluids are alcohol and soda, which can definitely be dehydrating if you drink too much of them. Everything in moderation. See, I was starting to read this next one, which is bracelets, copper bracelets, and I said modern bracelets. Anyway, copper bracelets and magnets for arthritis. My mom actually had a copper bracelet and some magnets that she taped to her skin, and she swore it helped her arthritis. She said it made it feel better. And this was all the rage just not that long ago for people who are coping with arthritis. Magnets were also believed to have anti-inflammatory and pain-relieving properties. That has all been largely debunked, including a double-blind randomized study published in September of 2013 in the journal PLOS 1. Patients with rheumatoid arthritis were randomly assigned to wear either copper bracelets or magnetized or demagnetized wrist straps. Physical function, pain, inflammation, and disease activity were no different regardless of the patient's device. So again, as I said, anecdotally, my mom tried this and she felt like it really helped her with her pain and stiffness. But again, was that actual help or was that the power of belief? I don't know. I don't know. Magic pills and potions. Ooh, Harry Potter. Kids love magic. So it's great that Pitt is a practicing magician, it says, as well as a physician. Kids think in magic rather than cause and effect, he says. Physicians can leverage that when working with kids. In pediatrics, he says, a lot of healing seems like magic to a young patient. You'll take this potion and feel better. However, magical thinking can work against adult patients looking for easy fixes. Valdez says there is no magic pill for weight loss. There's no magic pill for your blood pressure. Every medication has side effects and is prescribed to treat a single specific condition. There is no one magic pill. And that's just sad, right? Where is our magic pill? Where is our easy button? Just doesn't exist. So as with most topics that we talk about on this podcast, I continue to come back to do your research, do your homework, ask questions, consult with your doctor, advocate for yourself. If there's something that you have read about, then talk to your doctor. See if it's something that could help you. And things that are more anecdotal, if you feel better with, aromatherapy or healing crystals, things like that, as long as something doesn't hurt you, then I don't see a problem with utilizing it. But in addition to traditional Western medicine, a combination of traditional Eastern medicine and more contemporary, I said traditional earlier, but more contemporary Western medicine, I think can create a hybrid that is very helpful and beneficial for people, because it's not just one thing or the other. There's been so much research done and we're learning new things all the time. And again, if something doesn't hurt you, and if it is dangerous, then please don't. Please stop doing it. But if something is not proven to be harmful, then it could be fine. It could actually help, or it could help psychologically or mentally. Just not really sure. So anyway, I hope that your Friday the 13th has gone the way you hoped it would. If you are superstitious, I hope you stayed inside and nothing happened to you. If you're not superstitious, if you like Friday the 13th, if you like the kind of creepy factor to it, I hope you were able to celebrate somehow, especially with the full moon. And if you don't really believe either way, then I hope your Friday was fine. I hope you had a good Friday, and I hope that you have something fun planned for the weekend. Thank you so much for joining me. Join me again for the next episode of the GSMC Health and Wellness Podcast. And in the meantime, be well. Thank you.
You've been listening to the Golden State Media Concepts Health and Wellness Podcast, part of the Golden State Media Concepts Podcast Network. You can find this show and others like it at www.gsmcpodcast.com. Download our podcast on iTunes, Stitcher, SoundCloud, and Google Play. Just type in GSMC to find all the shows from the Golden State Media Concepts Podcast Network. From movies to music, from sports to entertainment, and even weird news. You can also follow us on Twitter and on Facebook. Thank you, and we hope you have enjoyed today's program.